Our extension is coming along pretty neatly, I have to say, but wouldn't it be nice if we could have some visual feedback besides the icon, which might or might not be visible based on whether the user pinned it or not. So like have a visual feedback that tells if a page already has a note or not. This is exactly what we're going to build in this lesson, and we will use the content scripts for that. So head over to Chrome for Developers documentation, and the easiest thing is just to search for content scripts. So content scripts are files that run in the context of web pages. So that's exactly what we're going to do. We are going to inject our JavaScript into the web pages. They work in isolated worlds, which means that they will not conflict with the underlying JavaScript that's already running on the page. And we can inject them in statical or dynamical or programmatical ways. And we will look into the static one, which means that we check whether the page matches a certain URL structure, and if so, we can inject custom JS or CSS files. So in this example, if the URL would match any subdomain of NewYorkTimes.com, we would inject the MyStyleCSS and the ContentScript.js. That doesn't sound too complicated, and if you remember, in the second lesson we already saw that the WXT framework already created for us a simple content script which logged something when we reached google.com. One thing to notice is that both content scripts is an array, matches is an array, CSS and JS are also arrays. So you can set up multiple URL paths and set up multiple blocks of rows as well. And if I scroll down a little bit, I can see that there is an optional item which might be useful for you when you're working in future extensions, which is run@, which determines whether the script should be injected at the beginning of the page load or when the DOM is already loaded but resources are still loading, or whether when everything finished and the page is idle, which is the default version. You can see document start, document end, document idle. Okay, so how could we add our own content script? Well, let's check the documentation at wxt.dev. I go to entry points and content scripts. And you can see all the configuration that you can define, and you have to wrap everything in the defineContentScript. Just so you know, what I want to achieve is to add the ribbon on the top right corner, whether that page already has some notes or not. So let's just do that. As you can see, I have to create a file with defineContentScript in it. So let me just do that. I will create one called ribbon.ts and I pass defineContentScript there. I need to use the matches, which I will use every HTTPS URL. And the other thing that I need to pass is the main property, which is a function where I will just log something to see whether our content script runs correctly or not. Now, matches is underlined because, as I mentioned before, I need to pass an array, not a single string. And it seems like it should be fine. Let me just restart my development script. And let's see if on Wikipedia I see something logged out. It's empty. What did I do wrong? Well, if I go back to the documentation, I can see there are 4 ways how I should name my files, and I didn't follow this naming convention. I can either call it content.js or content/index.js, or I can put anything .content in it. So I didn't follow any of that, but it's very easy to fix. In the entry points, I already had a folder called content. So I will just move the ribbon.ts there and I rename it to index.ts. Something failed here, so better to restart once again. And if I open the DevTools now, then suddenly the content script is running. So let's add the ribbon to the page. It will be extremely simple. I create a new element called note element, document create element div, and this should have an ID, tab notes ribbon, and on top of that it should also have some text. Let's say note or has note, and maybe let's append it to the document. Document body append child note element. If I come back to Wikipedia and refresh the page and I go to the bottom of the page, then I see that the note is indeed there. It's not where I want it to be, but it's perfectly fine. It's injected into the DOM of the page. Let's click around to see other pages and we can see that it is indeed appended to the bottom of every single page. So how can we move this note? Well, with some custom CSS. As we saw with the previous examples, it's enough to just import the style here. I will create it in just a second. Thanks to Vite, we don't have to set it up, even though in the manifest JSON, as you saw previously, we would have to include it. But it's enough to just create a new file here, style.css. And again, just give it a try. Let's see if I can change the background to orange. It didn't capture my changes. Why? Because previously I caused an error, so a perfect moment to restart the dev script. And if I open Wikipedia, I can see that my note indeed has the right styles. Now previously I wrote some CSS styles, so I will just copy paste them over here, which basically sets the position to absolute, puts it in the top right corner, sets some values, and translates it and rotates it with 45 degrees. So let's see, boom. So there we go, we have a ribbon in the top right corner. It looks quite okay, and it should show up on the other pages as well. We got to a point where we are injecting some custom script into our underlying web page, but our ribbon is still quite static, so I want to only show it when there's actually a note for the given page. And to do it, in the next lesson we will learn about messages.